Caldwell Williams. On April 4th, I was 90 years old, grandson of slaves. My parents were first generation free. Friendship, long time ago, I embraced the definition of love. Love is the experience of well being. And a friend is one who mutually shares that experience of well being with you, which opens up almost infinite creative possibilities.
Hi there. My name is Jessica Dugas. You won't see my face on camera during this film, and you'll only hear my voice to guide us through this journey. What you will see and hear are the faces and voices of 26 incredible adults, each from different stages and walks of life. Early in the year 2024, they sat down with me to answer questions about one of the most overlooked and unspoken aspects of our lives as adults. This film doesn't rely on fancy special effects, generic stock footage, or filters. Instead, it brings you raw and real conversations captured in the moment across many miles and time zones. This is a story about friendship.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Pinnock. I'm 55 years old next week. The topic has come up in conversations with acquaintances, friends, loved ones, and I think it's one that's worth exploring, and it changes and evolves so much as we grow older that it's a good one to check in with.
My name is Brandon, Brandon Croucher. I am 40 years old. Made me want to think about my friends and the paradoxes I have with them. So, yeah, I was excited to be a part of this and grateful that you chose me.
My name is Christy Renee Mattoon. I am 57 years old. The friendships I have are very meaningful to me, and I think it's just an important discussion. I think we've lost track of a lot of our friends and a lot of our people in our life because of COVID and some of the things that's happening in our world. And I think it's a great place to get back to.
Hi, my name is Brett Gordon. I'm 61 years old.
Hi, my name is Ilza. I'm from South Africa. I'm 42 years old. So I think it's very important to have friends so that in a difficult time that you have people to go to and have a support system. But I do think that some people don't take friendships up seriously.
Hi, my name is Brittany Floyd. I'm 34. I think it's a really great topic as well to get to talk about as well.
Hi, I'm Danielle Valero. I'm 43 years old.
My name is Angie Little. I'm 43 years old and I'm from New Brunswick, Canada. I wanted to join this because I felt a soul connection to it. And friendship is a huge asset in my life and something that's changed a lot over the years. And I'm hoping to give something to the conversation.
Hi, my name is Ferran Dozier. I'm 53 years old. I'm a retired Army Sergeant First Class. And I'm here to share about friendships because I've learned for myself how important that sense of belonging is.
Hi, my name is Shalina Tigger Ozuna. I go by Tigger or Tig, and I am 49 years old, and I am participating because I feel that friendship is something that doesn't get talked about or discussed as we get older. And it's a really important connection that I feel we all still need throughout our whole lives.
Hi, I'm Sharon Saraga Walters, and I'm 63 years old, years young, I should say. And friendship is certainly an interesting topic that I can't wait to unfold and see what comes from that.
Hi, my name is Rory Kelly. I am 39 years old, And I have had a journey with friendship in my 30s and like the concept of it. And so I'm just excited to be a part of this and be talking about it.
Hello, I'm Kat Stomska, and I am 40 years old. And I have decided to take part in this project because as an adult, I have often struggled with making friends. And I do believe this is a very important conversation to have.
My name is Tina C. Hines. I'm 55 years old, and I decided to participate in this experience about friendship because of my close relationships with two of my besties that this opportunity resonated with.
I'm Trista Polo. I'm 52 years old, and I'm participating because I really believe as we get older, connection is super important, but we don't talk a lot about it. And after the pandemic and being really isolated for a few years, I realized that there was something missing for me in my relationships.
I'm Jade Rader. I am 58 years old. As an adult, I've been able to make friends more easily than I did as a child, and how important friendship is to me in my 50s.
Hi, my name's Karen Ramsey Smith, and I'm 53 years old.
I'm Sarah Ruccasano. I'm 43 years old.
Hi, my name is Steve Gamlin. I am 56 years old.
Hi, my name is Rodney. I'm 47, and I chose to participate in this project for a friend and because I like to help people.
Hi, my name is Kelly Fisher. I am 50.
My name is Matt Mays. I'm 34 years old. This project is really needed. This discussion is really needed as we grow older, and the vital need for friendship still endures.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Elliott. I'm 63 years old, and I'm participating in this interview because I've been thinking a lot about friendships as we age, and about all the type of different kinds of friends I have at this time. And I think it's an important discussion to pass on to other generations so they don't get caught being lonely at the end because they haven't thought about friends in different ways.
Hi, I'm Jeff Martinet Jr. I am 39 years old. I wanted to take part in this project because it's not really in my comfort zone. I don't really like to talk about things that make me uncomfortable, I guess, and therefore it's a learning experience for each and every one of us.
My name is Oleg Lohid. I am 30 years old, and I've chosen to participate in this project because I am someone who genuinely values relationships and connections in my own life. So the concept of friendships is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and it's something that I've been wanting to learn more about, especially in the adult phase of my life. And that is, how do people make friends? What does it even mean to have a friend? And ultimately, what type of impact can those people have in our lives?
Before we dive deeper into the complexities of friendship, it's important to take a step back and ask ourselves, what do these words truly mean? What is a friend? What is friendship? For most of us, these definitions were shaped by our earliest experiences, our first playmates, the friends we made in school. But as we grow, our understanding evolves, influenced by the people who come into our lives and the moments we share with them. Yet, how often do we pause to reflect on what these words mean to us now? How do we define friendship as adults, navigating the ever-changing landscape of connection and intimacy? What do the words friend and friendship mean to you?
First thing that comes to mind when I hear the word friend is someone who has your back. And that can take so many iterations, and certainly has in my own life. And I feel that when I'm with a true friend who makes me feel that they have my best interests at heart, I can just let go and be totally me.
A friend is somebody that you can go to, somebody that you can count on and rely on to be there when you need to talk, or just somebody there when you want to have some fun.
The word friendship means to me that there is an individual in your life who you can be there for one another, can depend on one another, and almost for me, it's like a sisterhood. Being an only child, I don't have any siblings, and so my friends I consider my sisters.
I think probably it brings up for me connection, but also the opportunity for learning and deeper connection with other people that are around us.
Friend means somebody that you can talk to and that you can trust. But I think that there's different levels of friendship. Some are more of what I would call a tangential friendship, where you feel comfortable with them, you can talk with them, and when you meet, you're like together and in thought and have an opportunity to really exchange ideas. And then there's a deeper friendship, the friends that you could call on at any time and they're going to be there. They're almost like your brother or your sister, and in some cases maybe better than your brother and sister. But it's one of those things where I think that there's a a gradient of friends. It can span from just really kind of knowing somebody to really having a deep understanding of each other.
It means the same to me about friend or friendship, because that friendship is that experience that we have together in those conversations. So he's my friend, but that friendship is that experience, that love, that compassion, that empathy that comes in the mix of all of that.
I think friendship is the thing you're creating together with other people that are in agreement that you're creating something together.
It's a pretty broad word. I think lots of good hearted people that connect with one another are friends, whether they're old friends and they haven't talked for many years and, rekindle once in a while, or someone you speak to all the time, every single day. I think a friend is a friend regardless, and they're there, they're happy for you, we connect, and friendship is important in life.
Friend to me is someone I can share my joys, also the struggles I have. Also, a friend is somebody who I can talk to if I need advice, if I need guidance. And also a friend who can just listen and I can spend and enjoy time with.
I think when I say it, like, I really mean it, because I think we all say, like, oh, this is my friend whomever, and sometimes we mean acquaintance or colleague or whatever. But when I really mean friendship, when I'm like, what is it to be a friend? I think of someone who you can communicate openly with, somebody who cares about how you're feeling and earnestly wants to hear, someone who doesn't want to just, how are you, I'm fine conversation, and somebody where there's like a mutual sense of showing up. And that can vary from person to person. Everyone's got different schedules, different lives, especially as we get older, but there's a mutual sense of willingness to, like, just hold space for each other.
It makes me think of something that a very good friend of mine revealed to me, like the word friendship or relationship or even leadership, right? And the analogy that he pointed to was the actual ship part of that word. Like you're all on a ship, or you're together on a ship, and you have to keep it balanced. If you have a one-sided friendship, say there's someone who you continually reach out to, and it feels like kind of one-sided, and they never really seem to reciprocate. That's a very one-sided friendship, right? And it can be imbalanced. It takes both people who have that connection and feel, drawn to each other, and that there is a life that's worth preserving in that friendship that keeps it steady and keeps it balanced.
It means a lot different than it did 30 plus years ago in my radio era, when I had a lot of fans and some friends. and at the time was famous locally here in New Hampshire as part of the biggest rock morning show in the state, biggest rock station, Rock 101. And my grandfather pulled me aside one day and he said, you know, if you hit 40 or 50 years old and you can count your real friends on one hand, you're doing pretty good. And I just said, Pepe, because he was on the French side. I said, Pepe, come on. Everybody knows me. Everywhere I go, people know me. And everybody wants to be my friend. And I love having a lot of friends. And I didn't say that out of arrogance. I just said because I was in a really amazing career. And he said, just remember. And we lost Pep when I was 39. And when I hit right about 50 years old, I started to realize what he really meant. And now at age 56, I think literally one hand, I can count actual real friends. And he was absolutely right.
As we grow older, the meaning of true friendship often becomes clearer. Like Steve's grandfather once said, if you can count your true friends on one hand, you're doing well. At the time, it may have seemed like an exaggeration, but for many of us, it's a truth we come to understand with age. But how did we get here? How did our beliefs about friendship take shape? To truly understand the complexities of our relationships today, we need to take a journey back to the playgrounds, classrooms, and neighborhood hangouts where our earliest ideas of friendship were born. The foundations of how we connect, trust, and build relationships as adults are often rooted in those formative years. What did friendship look like for you as a young child?
I grew up in northern Minnesota in a town of 300 people. So as a young child, friendship looked like after like 6 years old, it looked like pretty much my cousins and a few neighbors and then a few kids from school. So like my biggest class was 14 kids in elementary. So I never had a lot of friends, usually one or two close friends and a cousin who would make up the third in my friendship group.
Well, I moved around a lot as a kid, and I counted it when I was in college. I had lived in 24 places by the time I was 18 years old. So, friend to me was super important, was an anchor, and was temporary.
Well, I was a very introverted child. I have a disconnect with my brain when I was a child, and I always thought people said really mean things, even though they didn't. So I honestly spent a lot of my childhood literally up a tree. We had a really big tree when I was little behind our house, and I would spend a lot of time there because otherwise I would hear people saying mean things, even if they weren't. And so there were very few. I had two people that I would consider really friends growing up because they understood. And so they kind of knew how to talk to me to where I could hear them.
Oh gosh, I didn't have many friends as a young child. I was quite a solitary child, I would say. I used to spend a lot of time in nature on my own. One of the stories I quite often tell is that I used to spend a lot of time sitting underneath my parents' dining room table, cutting up old birthday cards and Christmas cards and things like that, and just being creative on my own. So I wouldn't say I had a lot of friends as a child. I had perhaps one or two friends who were kind of family friends. And I would say that those people, I was brought up in a small village in the middle of England, and I would say those people were the people that I spent most of my time with.
I don't actually remember having friends in my early childhood. Probably because I've been moving so much, like every 4 or 5 years. We've moved due to my dad's work. So I felt like I didn't really have time to get to know people enough to call them friends. So I would say my very first friend was when I was about 11 years old. and I moved to a little village in a very rural village. Like I had like 4 miles to my school from my house. And I do keep in touch still with that friend. He's the oldest friend I know and the oldest friend I have.
In my first 9 to 10 to maybe 12 years, I didn't really have that many friends. And part of the reason why is because of the transitions between households, living at the orphanage. That was probably one of the first times where I did have the first introduction to what it meant to have a friend. And that's people that I was sharing the same living space with, people that I was sharing duties and responsibilities from day to day, people that I was able to create new experiences in a classroom. And I would say when I was younger, obviously the friends that I had weren't necessarily in a position that could offer support, let's say financial support or emotional support or any other type of support that I was seeking in the moment. But they were solely people who were able to help me pass my day to day circumstances that I was going through. So when I was at those, at that age, I can't really, I had friends, but I think the type of friends that I had are not necessarily the type of friends that I have today, which is okay. I'll also say this, that when I went into, after being adopted and when I went into middle school and high school, the friend groups that I had between those two phases in my life were also drastically different. The friends that I had in middle school and parts of high school, I remember looking back at it now, where some of them were a bit more the troublemaker type. So we would get into a lot of exciting opportunities, as I used to call it, which would lead to some circumstances that we may or may not have preferred. But at the same time, I look at all those times through the lens today, and I can't help but notice all the lessons that I was able to learn from each and every single one of those people and each and every single one of those groups.
School friends, that'd be the best way to say it. The neighborhood I grew up in had very few kids. I was the oldest on the street, so that's kind of funny to be a kid and be the oldest on the street. And I mean, it happens, but it was like I really didn't have friends outside of school. Like I did sports, but like the minute practice was over, it's not like we went to dinner with them or anything. So for me as a kid, friendship was wherever I went, where people were. And friendship for me as a kid was definitely being like at school, was connecting through the sports, acting, things like that.
Friendship to me, when I was a young child, didn't really exist. I mean, I had a couple of friends, but I was always the backwards child. I was always weird, didn't really fit in anywhere in particular. So, friendship to me when I was a child really existed. But the ones that I did have were friends with, I hold close to my heart, even still to this day, even if we don't speak.
Oh man, it was the best. On the block that I grew up on, you know, we were all somewhere in the same age group, maybe a year or two apart. And I just remember riding bicycles, playing in the dirt with the dump trucks, skateboarding, playing tackle football in the yard, playing flag football in the streets. It was just fun, all fun. The ice cream truck would come by. We're all at the ice cream truck buying ice cream and sharing candy and chips and just like having a party, we called it.
Oh, I had so many friends when I was younger, oddly enough, because I was deemed the quiet child. Um, but I had no problem making friends. And once I'm comfortable with somebody, like I mean, I feel like as an adult, it's the same thing. But once you're comfortable with somebody and you could just be yourself around them and have fun. So, as a kid, I had many, many friends. I had really close best friends. We did everything together, like everything. We were like two peas in a pod. And I mean, that leveled up as the years went on. So, like grade school, I had a best friend, and middle school, and then high school, and then on and then on. I've always had best friends, but they've never stayed. Like eventually it just nothing, usually it wasn't a big fight or anything. Just like maybe they moved away, I moved away, or we just lost touch, or we outgrew each other. Yeah.
Wow. I went to a public school, so friends were the kids that were in school with you, and it was very superficial to say that, but it was. What kind of clothes did you wear? Where did you buy them? What your tennis shoes look like. That's probably one of my biggest weird things I still remember from junior high school is wearing a pair of red tennis shoes, and I got made fun of horribly for it, but I loved those shoes. I loved color. So the idea of how friendship was back then, it was a game of survival. If you had a friend that was close and you said the wrong thing, because kids are flighty, you would lose that friend, or somebody else would come in who had something better than you did, and then you would lose a friend because you weren't part of the clique or the crowd or whatever. And I would honestly say at this point, looking back, I don't think I had any true friends.
Ooh, I was a rebellious young child. So friendship to me as a young child was looking for someone to go on adventures with and friends about my parents when I was a teenager, someone that relates to that's on your level, because you don't want to listen to adults. So it was that one person that you, because it's not nice being alone or lonely or doing things by yourself. So it's finding that one person that you can gel with and you can share your secrets with, and almost like a sibling relationship.
I'm number 10 of 11 children and born on a farm. And as a young child, the focus for me seemed to be within my family, siblings. I had a brother who's 2 years older than I, who had what in those days in the 30s was called scarlet fever. And he needed a lot of nurturing, and my mom kept him home to nurture him. And we started schools on the same date in the same classroom in that small country community. I struggled with being a better performer than he in the classroom. I had guilt about that and didn't have any guidance. So I worked out my own equation of not looking too good because I didn't want to show him up. He had mindful injuries that were undiagnosed and untreated. And so our relationship, and he was the closest person in my life to me, we struggled without any guidance or understanding of mental health issues. That word did not exist in our vocabulary.
Well, it's interesting that I'm here because I have never talked about my friendship as a young child. And actually, it was not nearly as vibrant as an adult. As a child, I was very shy. I'm a twin. I'm an identical twin. And I kind of hung out with my twin sister most of the time. Went to private schools, so we had smaller classrooms. And so it was just to the smaller classrooms that I became friends with the people. But I noticed myself, I would say ultimately I was really shy as a child. And my friendships were selectively from my classrooms and not many outside of that.
I was desperate for friends all the time. And, I had 3 sisters. but at that age, they're not really your friends. They're just people you hang around with because, we were all stratified in age, and there's a lot of difference between a 6-year-old and a 12-year-old. So, yeah, that was when I was younger. By the time you get into the later grades, grade 7 or 8, you start realizing how to be a friend and how to fit in better. And maybe that's when you start putting those masks on so you can fit in and have friends. But it's also a time when you can also see through everything and see who are your people, who are the ones that you would have more in common with, and it kind of settles out from then, and you find your own group of weirdos or whatever, you know what I mean? So
Our childhood friendships lay the groundwork for how we understand connection. But as we grow, so do our relationships. For some, like Rhonda, it wasn't until middle or high school that the complexities of friendship truly began to take shape. The teenage years bring new dynamics, shifting priorities, deeper emotions, and sometimes the painful process of figuring out where we belong. It's a time when we start to navigate the balance between fitting in and standing out, when friendships become a cornerstone of identity and often a source of both comfort and conflict. What did friendship look like for you moving into your teenage years?
Growing up, I had friends like in elementary school that translated into high school, but then once we got our licenses and started doing different things on our own, like I got a job, my friends joined the firehouse and did different things, and we just kind of separated and did different things. And so there's people that I've known, since high school, but I barely talk to them anymore.
When I think about the changes that took place over the years, depending on the activities that one would participate in, that's sort of who you gravitated towards. A little known secret. I was in the band. I used to play the drums. And so, of course, I made friends with people who were playing the percussions. Then in high school, I was actually a cheerleader. And so, of course, we hung out with the other cheerleaders and the basketball players. We didn't hang out with the common folk, the common people. We didn't hang out with the nerds. We hung out with the teams, with the sports people. And there was a difference, that it was almost like you're part of the in crowd. That's the word I was looking for. You're part of the in crowd because you're participating in different activities at your school, and you sort of connected more with individuals in your school versus who was near you at home. And the dynamics was that with that is a little different because you're having different types of discussions, and the interests may be different as well. So it made it kind of challenging between the friends that I had who were my next door neighbors and the friends that I had when I went to school, because we didn't live near one another. And it just sometimes felt strained. It could sometimes feel strained because these people weren't in school with you, especially if they were probably a little bit younger or a little bit older than you as well.
High school, I think, is really when I started learning more about friendship. I met my best friend at the time in high school. And I think when you're aging and you go through puberty and all the things and the insanity of that you start realizing, whoa, am I the only one going through this? And you start developing deeper relationships. Sometimes good ones and sometimes not so good ones. And it deepens the discussions that you have and the things that you're willing to share personally.
Yeah, I think that, in high school, I wasn't the person that, I had no desire to go to prom, no desire to do any of those types of things. I was more of somebody who was what a lot of people would consider to be kind of a geek or a nerd. I enjoyed school. I enjoyed learning. I spent a lot of time with friends that also enjoyed learning, and advancing our minds. So it was a friendship where sometimes you would still go out and, you know, play tennis and go to shows or, you know, go to presentations. But it was not one. The group of friends that I had started to get even smaller.
Changed a lot. I was a teen mom, so I changed the people I hung out with, and I was way more particular about who I was going to hang out with because they had to be accepting of my situation and understanding, because not all teenagers at that age understand the responsibility of a young mom. So the friendship really changed a lot. I was definitely more picky about who I was going to hang out with, and I did lose friends because not everybody understood the challenges I was having, or that I couldn't just freely go out and do things like I used to do. And
when I was in my mid to late teens, I was going through a lot of different changes. My family looks different. I went through a pretty severe depression. A lot of my friends and I were in the same circles. We all went to the same church and all that kind of good stuff. But I felt pretty isolated for a lot of the time. Like I couldn't really relate to people around me, and you know, had my family kind of splitting apart, and that felt like two pillars of my life that were really crumbling, and I felt very unstable at that time. But there were a few people, like a handful of people who I could point to, who really went out of their way to check on me and make sure that I was okay, and made a point of including me and being friends with me. You know, even though I wasn't really that confident in myself, I really wasn't very happy a lot of the time. But creativity felt like the only lifeline that I had during that time.
Yeah, so teenage years obviously were a lot more mature than we are in elementary school. There's a lot of kind of new beginnings in those years and more sort of independence. We're driving, we're starting to really have some social bonds, and you know, we're supporting one another through whether it's classwork or just enjoying, you know, the various sort of social norms of being a teenager, the prom, you know, playing together on sports teams, just having fun and exploring in a new way.
Our teenage years are filled with moments that shape who we are. Proms, sports, first jobs, and even the challenges of moving or facing bullying. But as Sarah pointed out, there's also a profound sense of newness during that time, a feeling that continues to follow us into adulthood as we navigate life's twists and turns. Amid these experiences, one question remains. Did anyone ever truly teach us how to be a friend? Here lies the paradox. Friendship is one of the most vital parts of our lives, yet so often we're left to figure it out on our own. For some, the lessons came from an insightful adult offering guidance in moments of need. For others, it was a friend showing through their actions what true friendship could look like. And for many, those lessons were learned through trial and error, shaping the way they approached relationships in the years that followed.
No. I don't even really remember having experiences of even visual ones, like with my parents, seeing the interaction. That's so weird that looking back, I don't even think I had the interaction watching them be friends with somebody to learn how to be friends. Interesting.
That would have been the province of my mom. And the closest I can recall in seeking to answer your question is she was concerned about proper values and character, and that and it was important for me to select associates who had good character and didn't misbehave. And I embraced that. I adopted that, and that was definitely a thing I looked for in selection of people peers that I spent time with.
Gosh, I can't think of anything formally. I think that if we think about the topic of going on a journey with a friend, I have definitely had a couple of friends. I'm thinking of one friend in particular who taught me to be accepting, who helped me to understand the importance of connection, like deeper connection with self, but also taught me boundaries as well. And I think that was something that because I had very few big social groups as a child and as a teenager, that was something I had to learn as I moved from teenagerhood into, adulthood.
I believe the informal teachings that I got about friendship was mainly don't play with them because they're bad. Don't play with the bad kids. Don't go over there and throw rocks at cars. Like, it was more of a protective sense of how to gauge my friends, right? And so there was guys on the block, back then that you would consider the bad kids, but we all were bad. But I didn't understand at the time what my grandparents and my moms were doing, but definitely it was more of a protective sense of friendships. Like, don't play with them because they're bad, or don't get in trouble.
When I think of the conversations that I would have with say, my parents, who were hardworking and really focused on just providing for us and having this loving space. I don't think that friendships were things that or topics that came up a lot. I mean, they were probably more concerned with other things. They wanted me and my brother, who was 5 years older than me, Roger. They wanted us to be happy, no doubt.
I remember we were taught we had to be nice to one another. And I remember someone's mom getting mad because we were excluding someone. And they thought it was for one reason. It was actually for a different one. So no real formal teaching about friendship. It was just expected that we innately knew how to make friends and be friends.
I don't think anybody actually ever teaches anything on friendship. I did have some examples, but my examples were basically like, my dad does this with this guy because he's their friend. He does this with this person because he's their friend. So that's what friends are for. So I didn't really understand that friends are made to be there. Friends are made to support you. And there's something you can rely on and put your trust in.
I remember songs. I remember, I could sing you a couple songs from my childhood about friendship right now. Friendship, friendship, just the perfect landship. When other friendships have been forgot, ours will still be hot. La-di-da-di-da-di-dig-dig. I remember that one. I remember the one from Girl Scouts, which was like, make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. And I remember questioning to myself, like, well, which one is silver and which one is gold? Because there's definitely a value differential.
I would say no. It's an interesting question to ask. And I would say no, I wasn't ever taught that, any of that.
But my generation,
I think it was a little easier for us. Now, it doesn't mean that our parents just gave us the outline and the great description. They were just working off what they knew from their generation. So I think I'm pretty blessed that it was somebody who was my age who kind of showed me what a real friendship was all about.
No, I don't think so. I think friendship just became a natural existence, an experience of just being, like I said, outside and being kind of this exploratory sort of kind of feel to you. You want to be out there, you want to grow up, you want to see the world, and you find your friends along the way in doing that. So it was something that you discover within, and innocently it feels right. It feels natural, and you enjoy being with one another. We're not being mean to each other. We're actually having fun and laughing.
Yes. It's the experiences growing up that mold you. Because I moved around so much, I ended up in a town that was really, really close knit. And it didn't take too kindly to outsiders. This was the number one bullying experience. They treated me terribly. They ostracized me. It was right out of a high school special. They made fun of me when they could. They left nasty notes in my locker. And I was only there for about a year and a half or 2 years. So when I moved back to a previous school, I was craving acceptance. I was craving friendship. And I really I wanted to be part of the community. And I had a really good friend, and she had been friends with me when I lived in the same area. Then I moved away. She was the only person that stayed friends with me. This was before social media and phones, texting and FaceTime. So she was the only person that took her time to call me on my house phone from her house phone and check in and see how I was. We didn't drive. This was middle school. So we didn't really see each other, but she kept in touch and she stayed in touch with me. So when I moved back to her school, she, of course, was my closest friend. And yet I craved acceptance in a larger way because of how much I had been bullied. So I got into the popular crowd, and they knew I was friends with her, and she really was the person in that school that I had been in the previous school. So they would ask me questions about her, and I became the informant. I became the secret teller. I would tell them things she said about them when she was annoyed at them, and I really used my friendship with her to create acceptance with the power of the school, the popular kids. It all culminated in a moment that will be forever burned in my brain, where the head of this group brought her into the girls' bathroom and made me watch while she confronted her on every secret I had divulged to them of things that she had said. She bawled her eyes out. We stopped being friends after that, and I would say that of my life, it's one of the things I'm most ashamed of. It taught me how to be a loyal friend who can keep a secret. So she taught me how to be a friend and, how not to be. I reached out to her years later, and she had forgiven me. I had never forgiven myself. I reached out to apologize in a tone, like I sent her a letter, but other than that, I couldn't even face her. And so we reconnected, and she didn't have anything about it. She had no, upsets. She didn't blame me for anything. She was good. She had gone through some stuff about it, her own healing about it, and her own forgiveness about it. So generous. So then she taught me as an adult how to be a friend too. And we don't really talk these days, but I'm glad to say that we're connected and we stay in touch through social media. And she allowed me to forgive myself because of the space she gave me to forgive, the space she gave in forgiving me.
I know for me, I learned a lot. Wow. I learned a lot about friendship from watching my mom with her two best friends because I remember no matter what, like they were always together. No matter what was going on in their life, like my basically they were my aunts. They were her best friends, but we called them aunts. And it was like my mom would call and be like, "Hey, I need you here," and like, boom, they were there. And it was the same for like any time they called. Like it was never, "Oh, I can't because I, this show is on," or "I can't because of something." It was like there were times they would pack us up in the middle of the night when I remember when my grandpa passed away. And in the middle of the night, my aunt came and swooped us up and let my mom go do what she needed to do. And that's just, to me, like seeing that as a kid, like that's what I base like what friendship is supposed to be like. And so for me, I think that I end up having too high of expectations because that's what I saw growing up. Like that to me was like just friendship. And so sometimes it's like I don't feel like that's a part of society anymore.
Friendship is often learned through life itself, observing others, experiencing joy and pain, and sometimes, as Trista and Tigger shared, through moments that challenge our very understanding of connection. Whether it's being taught compassion by someone we've wronged, or witnessing the unwavering loyalty of friendships during life's hardest times, these experiences shape us. They set the bar for what we seek in others and sometimes for what we fear we may never find again. At one point in history, everything changed. The birth of the internet and the rise of social media redefined how we connect. Suddenly, friendship wasn't just about who you could meet face to face, but who you could reach across the globe. For many, it opened doors to new communities and rekindled old relationships. For others, it brought challenges, shallow connections, misunderstandings, and the pressure of always being on. How did the birth of the internet and social media change the landscape of friendship?
So I didn't really have close friends. And I was really lucky that during that time was when the internet started to become a thing. And I started finding friendships online that I couldn't find in my small town where I currently was living. I was definitely the weird kid, and I wasn't the weird kid who'd been around since kindergarten where everyone kind of gets it and accepts it, like, oh, that's Roy, she's just like that. And so I found friendships online, and it was like a lifeline for me. Like if I had been born 10 years earlier, my high school years would have been so much different because I wouldn't have believed that one single person could like me. But because I had like online friendships, I used to hang out in this AOL chat room called the Teen Writers Jam. And because I had those friendships, I was able to like maintain a sense of self-esteem. I like not the highest self-esteem, but I was able to be like, okay, I'm not completely isolated.
For me personally, and I can only speak from my own experience, but social media, and I remember being at work in 2008 when Twitter went live for the first time. And I can remember everything. I can remember thinking to myself, this is going to change absolutely everything. And it started off with information. And then before we knew it, we were building relationships through social media. And I think in terms of friendship, what has really been affected either positively or negatively, depending on the way you look at it, is the way we actually make those initial connections with people. The way we used to make friends when I was a child, when I was growing up, would be through other closed circles or other networks that were, not online. You'd be meeting people face to face. You'd be able to read people's energy or pick up on, the vibration of somebody else. I mean, back then you wouldn't have used even those words, but you kind of got to know that person through that more intimate face-to-face contact with that person. Whereas now, and over the years, what's built up is that it's much more difficult to create those closer connections in a more authentic way. And for me now, I find it more difficult to create authentic friendships that are only online. Many of my friends, my friends, probably since I've been an entrepreneur in the last 7-8 years, I have made some amazing friendships. But I would say all of those friendships have developed into offline connections as well as online connections. And I'm not sure how much those friendships would be sustained by just an online connection.
To me, it allowed me to have friends from a broader environment. Like once social media became a real thing, like, you had the first messengers and, MySpace, and, then we started using Facebook and Instagram and, Twitter. And most of my online friendships started with a comment, believe it or not, somewhere on social media.
I think so much of it these days is so surface level, it's ridiculously unhealthy for a lot of people. Now, I'm in my 50s. It's a little bit different. I've got my feet grounded in reality a lot more than a lot of people who grew up with this. And they see the likes and the comments and the shares and the followers and how many friends they've got on social media. And too many people are bragging on those numbers where it's all just a house of cards. You could go out today and you could have 1 million followers on Instagram, but all of a sudden you say or do the wrong thing and you are cast out. And the whole thing falls down, and all of a sudden you're public enemy number one. And everything that you felt was your strength and your connection and your family and your friends could disappear like that now. And I think that's really an unhealthy thing emotionally for a lot of people. And we're going to see that for the next 10, 20 years. The people who grew up with that, thinking that's what real friendship was. And all of a sudden, it could just disappear in one day. And mental health-wise and emotional well-being-wise, it's going to be a rough road for a couple of decades.
I guess a part of me, I feel like I'm glad I didn't have the internet when growing up. However, as an adult, I love it. And I say that, but maybe I shouldn't say that, because maybe I really might have liked it. I can't tell because I didn't have it. But as an adult and now, I love the internet. The friends that I've created on the internet, through the internet, and from all over the world and all kinds of different places, I could have never reached back when we didn't have the internet. So I really like it.
Early on, I would hate social media. Hate is a harsh word. Early on, I would not be a huge fan of social media because the way that some people use the platform. However, when I think about, as you know, I'm living in Morocco now, and I'm somewhat personally disconnected from everyone that I've left back in the States, physically disconnected from everyone I left back in the States. However, with social media, I can stay updated. Of course, with phone calls and videos, we can do that as well. In addition to that, social media allows you to extend your reach and open up yourself to make deeper connections with individuals that you may not have had access to had it not been for social media.
I feel social media has perhaps not ruined friendships, but I don't know how to word it properly, but basically taken away from people actually being friends to each other, because I can send a text message via my phone or Facebook or whatever social media you choose, rather than actually picking up the phone and talking to somebody or going to their house. Growing up, I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have any social media, didn't exist yet. So I would get on my bicycle and ride to my friend's house who lived across town and go ask him a question. So we didn't even have computers yet. So it was like, I'm just going to ride my bike over to Rocco's house. He was my best friend growing up. And we're going to hang out for a little bit. My mom's like, okay. And, just be home for dinner kind of thing. So I think social media, for me personally, I don't think it's ruined friendships, but I think it's definitely changed it, and not for the better. And that's just my 2 cents.
Well, I think it's changed it in different ways for different generations. For my generation, it helped us reconnect with some of the people that we lost along the way. And we know them, and sometimes we get back in touch with them. We find out we have a whole lives that have kind of run parallel, but are really interesting. And, when we didn't have time for each other, now we do. So, it's kind of interesting that way.
Oh, for me, it's been a godsend, to be honest. I live a very busy life, and it's hard to connect in person. I am home a lot. I homeschool one of my children due to his mental health, and I take care of my elderly mother, things like that. So I'm not able to be out a lot meeting new people. I'm out of the workforce. I've been a stay-at-home mom since 2012, so I don't get to get out and meet a lot of people that are, my soul tribe. So I've been able to really, develop friendships online that feel like, very close friendships, and I'm very grateful for that. So for me, it's been a positive thing, although I would like to develop in-person friendships, but for whatever, for many reasons, it's more difficult to do that.
In general,
I think in the tenses of being able to touch people physically, yes, hugely. Because when you can reach out and touch somebody and sense them through touch, when you can look in somebody's eye, when you can meet their gaze head on, you're gonna get me going. Sorry. It's okay. When you can grab somebody, when you can hold them, it's different than saying, I'm sending my love, I'm sending my hugs. When I had my transformational experience, is what I call my NDE, that happened on December 2nd. of last year. And she kept texting me hugs, 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 hugs. And all I could do was sit there going, God, just show up.
The rise of social media has given us the ability to stay connected with more people than ever before. It's brought communities together, allowed friendships to transcend borders, and for many, it's been a lifeline. But it also left us questioning, is social media truly social? This paradox is one we all face, the ability to connect instantly, yet often feeling more isolated than ever. As Christy shared, in our most vulnerable moments, what we crave isn't virtual gestures, but the tangible presence of another person. A warm embrace, someone showing up physically to remind us that we're not alone. And that brings us to an even deeper question. How do we truly know when someone is our friend? Is it the number of likes or comments, or is it something more profound, something that transcends words and screens?
I think it's a feeling. I think it's a feeling. Um, it's very difficult to summarize, right? Like, what is that feeling of an ultimate friendship? I think it's a connection. I think it's a knowing. I think it's a way that you feel with that person or in their presence. You feel comfortable. I feel comfortable in my own skin being around this person. I feel confident in who I am and what I stand for and what I believe in.
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I know when someone is my friend when they show compassion and are vulnerable, and they check in from you from at least time to time, and support you. Supporting is a really big thing, no matter what part of the journey you're in, that they just support you.
A friend is about showing up. A friend is about someone who cares. A friend is the person that will call you and say, hey, you haven't posted on Facebook in a while. Are you okay? Hey, I'm working on a project that I think you'd be someone to talk to. A friend thinks of you instead of always looking for someone. What makes up a friend is the want from both sides to connect or grow or share.
I think once people, when you're friends and someone says, I'm your friend, if you need something, just call me. I think when it goes into, you can see their actions matches their words. It goes from being let's be friends to, okay, we are friends, because you can trust that what I am saying is who I am. So it ultimately comes down to the actions of people. And how they treat you consistently in the friendship, going from maybe a platonic relationship, just getting to know each other, to moving into we are friends now and going to the next level on that.
I feel it. I'm a very heart and soul type person, very emotional, sensitive, so I can feel the connection.
For me, my friends come to mind pretty much every day in my thoughts. So those people would be friends to me.
I don't think that there's any kind of a line in the sand that, if you're on this side, you're a friend, and if you're on that side, you're not. Again, a kind of a spectrum as you're getting to know one another more and more, and you open up more and more with each other, and you do things either physically together or remotely, where you start to bond more and have that level of trust. And trust grows over time and through different types of events. So I think that when I would say the difference between an acquaintance, somebody that you might meet on the street and say hi and remember kind of the last conversation you had, but when you say bye this time, you're both on your own direction, and until you come together again, you're not going to really seek each other out. I think that line in the sand really comes when you do actively reach out to one another. And once that starts happening, I think that's when you kind of go from that acquaintance to a friend.
Friendship often begins with a feeling, something intangible yet undeniable. As Brett pointed out, it's through shared experiences and the gradual building of trust that these connections deepen over time. But what happens when life throws its inevitable curveballs? As adults, our lives become more complex. We face career pressures, family responsibilities, health challenges, and the weight of loss. Sometimes these moments bring friends closer, strengthening the bond. Other times, they create distance, testing the very foundation of the relationship. Whether it's the pain of losing a friend, the heartbreak of a friendship breakup, or simply realizing that two people view the relationship in entirely different ways, life has its way of shaping and sometimes reshaping our connections. What is the most challenging part to you about friendship in adulthood?
Yeah, I think we as adults have a lot more distractions, personal life distractions, whether you have kids or a husband and a wife or whatever, like things that are just like, or your job, or other sort of, problems now that are issues in your life. Parents are getting older. So there's a lot of, I guess, responsibilities now, more so than there were when we were in our 20s.
Yes, I'd say the biggest challenge, uh, I'm sure others can relate to this, is time. We all get the same 24 hours on the clock every day. And yet, uh, this probably comes back to what I was saying earlier about discernment. We can only spend so much time with nurturing those relationships, whether it be with our spending time with our family members, or being around our near and dear friends.
I was extremely involved in BMX riding before my accident. And I had all these friends that I would travel around the state with and go ride our bikes, even sometimes traveling out of the state to ride our bikes. But when that all kind of went by the wayside because I could no longer operate in the way that I used to, those friends, some of those friends kind of went away. And I don't understand it even to this day. I guess it's because they had trouble dealing with things, or it was the fact that I could no longer be the person they called a friend, but I don't know about that.
I think friendships, old friendships, they were very supportive. I mean, from the time I had to make phone calls to update them on what I was experiencing, they were 100% present in helping me. Being in a country where you've only been here 2 days and you got the biggest health scare you could ever think would happen, it was amazing how people I had interaction with, not extensive connection, but interaction with, um, actually showed up for me as well. That really brought several emotions to the surface because it was like I'm in a country and I don't have many people here and I'm going to have to do all these things alone. And 100%, so many of the Moroccan relationships that I've built showed me that I didn't have to do it alone, that I didn't have to feel alone, that I didn't have to be alone.
A lot of us, we can get caught up in just whatever it is that we're doing, and that's one thing I have to be really conscious of, especially being thoroughly involved in being a husband, father, and building up a creative business from the ground up. I feel like I'm fully involved in just the sphere of my own life almost at all times. Being able to connect with people, I have to make a conscious effort to think of people and reach out to them, and even including like my close family, right? Because I can be just so zoned into what I'm doing that I have to really make an effort to connect with people who are close, or else they're like, where the heck is Matt? What happened to Matt?
I think the most challenging is trying to find somebody who you just get along with naturally. Like, it seems like as I get older, it's harder to find somebody to just talk to. A lot of times there's so many different distractions, and I know for me, like when I go out to coffee with somebody, like my phone's away. I don't even have it out, because to me, when somebody's trying to talk to me or catch up with me, I don't need to be discussing stuff with somebody else, getting texts or whatever. So it's very hard for me talking with some of the people because they always have their phone out. They can't put it away. And so it's really challenging for me, because I feel if I'm going to give you, like, say, a half hour undivided attention without distractions, like, it comes back on, why am I not important enough in your life for you to give me that same respect and consideration?
Challenging for me is just probably, and it's probably more on my end too. I realize it about myself. It's hard for me to keep in touch. Like, I'll do things like send a video or just, hi, how you doing, like a text message or something throughout the day if I think about you or something reminds me of you. But I'm not big on talking on the phone. I actually despise it unless I really have to. I don't like sitting there chatting on the phone. I'm really bad at that. And if people call me, I almost just don't even want to answer. I'm like, if it's that important, maybe they'll leave me a message. I don't know. I definitely struggle with, as an adult, with a life, with things going on. I struggle with keeping in touch, at least by like a phone call. Like, I don't like sitting there chatting for a while on the phone. I'm terrible at that.
As we've seen, the demands of adulthood often pull us in different directions. Time slips away, responsibilities grow, and even our health can reshape how we engage with those around us. For many, like Danielle, the challenge isn't just about finding the time, it's about learning how to communicate and stay connected in a meaningful way. Amidst these challenges, another question arises. What do we actually expect from our friendships at this point in our lives? When we were younger, friendships may have been built around convenience, shared interests, or simply spending time together. But now, with all the complexities life brings, our expectations often shift. Do we look for friends who can weather the storms with us, who can show up when it matters most? Or is it about something simpler, someone who sees us, truly sees us for who we are?
No.
So if you had a friend that was regularly mean to you, that would be okay for you?
No, they wouldn't be friends with me anymore. I would remove myself from that situation. I guess in that aspect, I'm not going to be a doormat or treated ill. It's I would treat people the way I want to be treated, with respect, love, kindness. Sure, it's okay to disagree and have heated debates even, but at the end of the day, it's about communication and loving that person. And if somebody's continually mean, that's not somebody good for my life, and I need to step away.
Trust. Trust is a big thing. Respect, and just, you know, I've recently lost friends due to me being in a dark place with my grief and whatnot, and them not willing to kind of go in the trenches with me. I need friends that'll be there through thick and thin, not you know, just there for the good times and there for the fun and the laughter and the I prefer friends that, you know, that don't mind listening to when I'm down and out too, and be there for me. They need to love my kids. They need to want to be a part of, you know, my family, to be part of my tribe.
Well, with my good friends, I expect honesty, and I expect to be able to speak to them what's going on, and them to tell me backwards, what's going on in their life, what I can do for them, what they can do for me, not on like on a physical or a substantial sort, but sort of how I can support them and how they can support me. Or sometimes it's like, have you got room for me to vent to you for a few minutes? I just need to vent, you know? So here goes my list of complaints, and then I'll shut up because you have to say it to somebody sometime.
I have one friend. Her name is Veronica. And I know she's a friend. We don't speak to each other every day, and we have a rule in our relationship. We don't speak to each other for 2-3 weeks on end. But we return energy. So even if I send her a message now, if she sees my message, even if she goes on her phone 3-4 hours later, she'll send me a little heart. So I said to her, a relationship lasts if the energy keeps flowing.
Literally trying not to have expectations. The friends I have at this point, we're all around the same age. We've been through a lot of the same stuff. We've seen things change from the 80s when we were in junior high or high school, and to where we are now. The idea of no expectations literally means we can come to the table in front of each other, or over the phone or whatever, and I can have my own viewpoint on something. They can have a totally different viewpoint, but we're okay to sit there and listen to each other.
Balance. If you call me and you're having a really bad day and you need to vent, you can say that and I'll let you vent all day. Talk to me, I'll listen. I will not provide any advice. I will not provide anything, but I ask that you do the same when I call for you and need to vent. Even if it's not at that moment, just, hey, call me back in an hour or so. It needs to have a balance. And I think that a lot of us get stuck in our negatives, and then we're just dumping and dumping and dumping. And then our friendships become more about complaining to one another than it is about building one another up.
High quality character. I expect someone who has some values, who stands for something, who believes in other people, who takes a chance on people, who supports people. I expect people who are willing to help if the help is needed, even if they're not able to do so directly. Point them in whatever direction. I expect for people to be kind.
I think I've become very demanding of friendship because as an adult and as a parent, and having gone through many friendships and relationships in my life, I feel like I want the best of everything. I want somebody who is there for me 24/7, who I can trust implicitly with everything in my life, who who I can talk to, who I can call anytime, whatever. I want it all, and I want somebody who meshes with me very well. Our personalities mesh well together. We never disagree on anything, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. But, bringing it back to reality, I understand that with any relationship, whether it's a friend or a romantic relationship, there has to be compromise in that. And so as an adult, you learn to compromise with things, whether it's with your kids or with friendships or relationships or whatever. You have to compromise. So even with my best of friends, I compromise, whether it's time or how we discuss things or how we deal with things.
Expectations in friendship can be tricky. Some of us claim to have none, only to realize that deep down we do expect kindness, respect, and mutual care. But what happens when those unspoken expectations aren't met? Friendship, like any relationship, thrives on reciprocity. It's the give and take, the balance of support, understanding, and effort. But when that balance tips, when one person gives more while the other takes, it can leave us feeling unseen and undervalued. In those moments, communication becomes crucial. How do we handle it when a friendship feels one-sided? Do we speak up, or do we let the relationship quietly fade away? And what if we took a different approach, one where we had intentional, open conversations about expectation and communication before problems arise? What does communication look like within friendship?
I would like communication to be upfront and honest, and communicate what we need to be communicated, so there is no misunderstanding or miscommunication.
It's just, whatever is going on. And I think any of my friends are that way. It's like in the moment. I try and stay in the now moment. I try and stay in, where I am right now. Sight, smell, sound, touch, like all of it. I want the vibrational, emotional tangibility of what's going on right now. And the only way that you can do that is to communicate with people. What's right now? Where are you at right now?
I am really big on communication in all my relationships. I think it's extremely important. And so when somebody's not communicating with me, drives me nuts. And I'm probably one of those people that, well, I know I've tried to take it back a few notches, but I over communicate. Like I almost do too much, like say too much, do too much. So I try to not overly communicate, and kind of sometimes I bite my tongue a little bit, but yeah, it's very important to me. So if they had an issue with me, I would prefer they tell me, but watch your tone because I'm sensitive.
That communication I learned is really going to be up to Farhan. And if I want to communicate with people in my life, I have to have that courage to reach out to them. Because if I go in my head about how they're communicating to me, then that's the game we play, and who's going to call who first. I'm really good at that. I could cut my emotions off easy, but then I'm suffering in my head because I'm like, well, how come they don't call me? How come they don't call me? And no, if you want to talk to somebody, you pick up the phone and you call them.
The vital ingredient and the vital and focal point. Because if you don't feel comfortable in telling your friend how you're feeling about them or how they are making you feel, and especially when you feel hurt or you feel maybe offended in any way, then that's not really a friendship.
It's interesting because communication is really important. And through years, I used to not be very good at communication, but now I feel like I'm really good with it. So I think it's really important. I want to be able to offer somebody the space to communicate as well as receive it back, get with that person as well. And without judgment, I really want to be able to listen to someone and they listen to me.
Yeah, communication is everything. In friendships, at work, even when we're watching TV, there's a level of communication that's going on. And communication is not just what you say or what is said to you, but it's the perception of the other and your perception of what they said. So communication is not just about speaking. It is something that is active, and we need to be active in our understanding of our biases, in our perceptions, in our fences, in our walls, because oftentimes those get in the way of the communication that's coming through. If somebody uses a word that triggers you, oftentimes you lose the meaning of what they're actually trying to say. And the same thing goes for when you're communicating to somebody. If you use a word that you didn't even know triggers them, but if you can't see them, especially, or if you're, communicating via the phone or something, you don't know that you just stepped on a landmine, and now their mind is going in a totally different direction than the conversation that you believe you were having. So communication is a very, very active and sensitive thing that we all need to be aware of. And oftentimes I think that it is one where we don't actively listen. We don't actively evaluate how we just perceived what somebody said and how what we're saying is being perceived. So I think communication in general is something that takes energy, and we should be happy to give that energy. And the biggest challenge is oftentimes that we don't even understand our own biases and how we perceive things. So it can get in the way of that communication.
That's a great question. I have never actually had that conversation. And, it's funny because I believe that if you have a boundary that you choose to set, you should talk to the people in your life about that boundary before it comes up. Because in the moment of, I don't feel like you're supporting me. I cheer you on all the time. And here I am telling you about something and you're not even, I think that's the wrong time. The right time is beforehand. And so I'm going to coach myself and say, well, what are you waiting for? You have an opportunity to do that before there's a problem. And you haven't really taken the step to do that. It's sort of more been a personal, internal conversation and a choice that I've made. So thank you for asking that. I'm going to put that on my goals of getting that done as soon as possible.
Communication is the bridge that connects us, but as Brett reminded us, it's a two-way street, one often clouded by our own biases. Trista's journey of coaching herself to have those hard, intentional conversations shows the courage it takes to build deeper, more authentic connections. But before we can truly communicate and connect with others, there's another relationship we often overlook. It's the friendship we have with ourselves. Have you ever stopped to ask, am I my own friend? For many of us, this question arises in moments of solitude or hardship when we realize that the support we seek from others must first come from within. Learning to be your own friend can be one of the most transformative experiences, shaping not only how you see yourself, but also how you show up in your relationship with others.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh my goodness. My own friend for sure. Yeah, I was my biggest enemy. I was my biggest adversary for sure. Like if my self-talk is ugly, I'm like, would you say that to a friend? No. Well, then stop.
Yeah, I think I mean, especially because I'm a loner, I tend to just do things on my own a lot. I think I am my own friend, to some degree anyways. I mean, if I'm honest, I mean, I talk to myself sometimes like, hey, what were you thinking there? Like you're asking yourself these questions like, what's going on here? What are you doing? Um, just trying to think things out sometimes for yourself because there is nobody else to talk to, or because I don't feel like bothering one of my friends or somebody who I could text or call and say, hey, what do you think of this? What's your take on it? Sometimes I'll just think about it myself and take a breath and try to get through it myself. So yeah, I'll definitely feel like I'm my own friend sometimes. I don't think it's something that I've necessarily struggled with. I think it's something I've done since I was a kid because I've always been very shy. So I've had a hard time meeting people since I was a kid. Now that I'm an adult, as my daughters will tell you, I have no problem talking to anybody.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I was not including myself in the need for healing. And one way of looking at that phenomenon is myself said, better include me. if you want relief and you want to keep growing, there's a less familiar to me part of myself that rears its ugly head in the form of discomfort. And I learned from a very bright and warm psychiatrist named Roger Gould. We are multiple selves. In biblical terms, the scriptures use the term many talents. We operate with a talent of the self that we've spent years cultivating. And so it's easier to go through life operating with what we know and with what we're comfortable.
Ooh, I would say yes. I definitely had to learn to become my own friend. I had to learn to be okay with me. And I think that's a journey because, you know, a lot of times we are trying to please other people as we are growing, and we leave ourselves out of the equation in that process of what makes us happy, what brings us joy. And when it comes to being a friend to myself, it's me doing a check-in of, girl, what do you need? I'm very transparent about suffering from clinical depression because I know there are so many people who have experienced it. And part of my healing during that time was really identifying what I needed for me. And it had nothing to do with friends or family. It was 100% Tina C. Hines. And we're going through therapy, working through with a therapist and tapping into what does Tina want? What does Tina need? It allowed me to be open and honest when I'm having conversations, when I'm setting boundaries, and learning how to be clear with it versus, well, it's okay. No, this is really what I want or what I don't want. And I don't necessarily have to explain the why, but if you need it, I can give it to you. Um, because I'm sort of in that space now of teetering between my life before becoming a coach, because that's where my genius lies, my initial genius lies, and then leaning more into this metaphysical work that I've been called to do and knowing that this is my next genius. And people have reached out to me for that first half of my life of the work I used to do. And I've come to the conclusion it no longer brings me joy. And I don't want to continue doing things that don't bring me joy. I like to say that on our journey of growing, not changing, but growing, some people will fall off because you're not in alignment with where they are. And it has nothing to do with you, it has everything to do with them. And there is no you question it because you're wondering, what did I do? What happened? But at the end of the day, you have to realize that everything is for a season.
100%, I was my worst friend for decades. And I've got journals to prove it. After my divorce, in the very low point of my life without a radio career. If you go back around 2003, 2004, you'll see me refer to myself in my journals as Hurricane Dumbass Category 5. The guy who effed up his entire life. My self-talk was brutal. My self-esteem was in the toilet. My self-worth was even lower than that for many, many years. And how can you expect to be in a quality relationship or be a great friend where all you do is go around bashing yourself? Now, what hid it from me was the fact that I could get laughs doing it. In speaking and stand-up comedy, even back in radio, I could be self-deprecating. And to me, that meant I was creating laughter, and that was okay. So I wasn't doing a bad thing. Until one of the friends, who I already mentioned anonymously, called me out on it one day in June of 2011 after a speaking event, and showed me the evil that I was doing to myself and how it was impacting me personally and my businesses and everything. So from 2011 until now, it's been an exercise in better self-talk and being a better friend to myself. We are matching energy now a lot better than before. I was just always that guy who didn't believe he was worthy of anything. And I would even wonder sometimes why people kept me around as their friend. And I figured it was just because I was entertaining and I could make them laugh and make things more fun, while I was basically being the circus clown, taking pies to the face and tripping all over the place to get other people to laugh. And now I get to be a part of the real, genuine, positive, entertaining, educational, motivational, inspirational show that's going on no matter where I am. I'm actually part of the action in a good way. And it's more fun. And I've had people say this, Steve, it's way more fun to be around you now because you actually like yourself and you're not just putting yourself down constantly. And people have come to me and said, it was pitiful to be around me in those days. They didn't say anything about it because they didn't know how to say it. But they just said it was really tough being around you because not that you weren't likable, but we didn't like how you talked about yourself or treated yourself. And, to everybody that hung with me long enough for me to finally get it through my head, to be nice to myself and actually be a better version of myself, I really appreciate those people now. Yeah.
Being alone and being lonely comes up all the time. Like, are you lonely or are you just alone? And if you are alone, can you get inside your heart and just be, instead of having to press, trying to find something outside of you or somebody outside of you? Because that's kind of what a friend is something outside of you. You're searching for something. What are you searching for? What are you looking for inside the realm of friendship that you think is going to complete this? Right? My guess is it's probably not. If you can find that inside you, then the friendships you make outside of you become so delicious. I don't even know the right word for it. So tangible, so colorful. And that's where you can sit and just have conversations about whatever and have no issue.
Learning to love and befriend ourselves is a journey of profound transformation. As Caldwell reminded us, our human need for inclusion often begins within. When we learn to embrace who we are, our relationships with others take on a new depth and richness, as Christy so beautifully shared. But this introspective work also raises an important question. Once we've built a strong foundation of self-friendship and nurtured the connections we already have, do we still have room in our lives for new friends? For some, the answer is an enthusiastic yes. They're open and ready to welcome new people into their world. For others, life feels full, and the thought of adding more to their emotional plate is daunting. Do you have room in your life right now for new friends?
Absolutely. I make them every day. Yeah. And maybe they're online friends, but those are still your friends. And you know, it's about going out and seeking your interests and finding new people and just talking to them and making yourself a little vulnerable, like saying hello, how are you, and meaning it, and asking people questions and being genuinely interested in them. And that's how you can decide whether you want new friends or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's different types of personalities. And I saw something once where it was like, if you're on a Disney trip, you know, one person will be the one who makes all the plans, and one person will be the one who decides where everybody's going. I'm the one that says, I'm going somewhere. You want to come? Come on, let's go. That's me. I'm the, promoter type.
Oh, always. There's always space. Why wouldn't there be? Because the people in our lives, and they play a significant role, but they don't know what the role is. We don't know what the role is at the moment, but they are there for a reason. They are there to learn something. They are there to pour into someone. They are there for a reason. When I look at the women, primarily the women, even the men who are presently in my life and those who are no longer there, I can say why each person was a part of my life. It's the craziest thing. We're always putting together this 100-piece puzzle, probably up to 1,000 pieces now. And things may not make sense in the moment. However, as you start putting together additional pieces of this puzzle, you gain more clarity.
I don't know. I'm not closed. I'm not closed for business, but I don't know if I'm open for business either. I feel like first of all, I feel very grateful and like I have a vibrant community that I love. And I also do feel what I've seen is that over time, I'm sure that people who I now know as like, oh, that's someone in my community, I think they're neat, whatever, but I'm not really close to them yet. Some of those people will probably become friends at some point, become closer, and that'll happen naturally in its own time because that's how I've watched kind of friendships evolve. And I'm open to that. I also, though, I don't think like I would seek out, like if someone made a Facebook post, like I'm looking for friends to spend time with, I wouldn't reply because I'd already know that I'd let them down, I think that I'm open to friends that come my way through like kind of the winds of fate and us mutually knowing each other. And I'm not actively like seeking out new friendships either.
Of course. Like I said, I love collecting friends. Yeah, always, always. I met a beautiful new friends in this Guatemala trip I just came back from. So, yeah, absolutely. And again, like if we keep in touch, great. That's awesome. I enjoyed spending time with you. Like I really don't have like ill will. I'm just like, great, we're friends. Let's keep talking. Let's share things. Let me tell you what happened. So that's kind of how I roll with things. Always, there'll always be a new friend, especially I'm sure when I'm old and gray, I'm going to meet old people like me playing bingo with my walker. I'm like, yeah, new friend.
Oh, sure. I do. I'm not going to necessarily seek them, but if they unfold naturally, I mean, I'm not unwilling. I'm just not seeking, if that makes sense. I'm not out going, hey, hi, be my friend.
Always. A good friend that you hang out with, enjoy spending time with, have fun when you're with them. So valuable. I always have room in my life for something like that.
What will be, will be. Me personally, no. I don't want new friends. I'm okay with where I'm at. I'm happy with where I'm going. I'm doing good things. I'm making money. I'm happier than I've been through my 20s and 30s, and now I'm 40. And I look at myself and say I'm on the right path. If the right friends came along and someone connected and it actually felt like it actually was an energy, we were both balanced, we were giving to one another, we were like, it was something like that, yeah, I'm not going to oppose having a friend, but I'm not going to go actively seek one.
I feel like I need to make room for new friends because I am lonely. I'll be honest. Even though I know through my grief and whatnot, a certain depth of loneliness comes from that anyway. But I feel like there are 2 or 3 friends that I just never get together with and never we connect online sometimes, or if one's going through something, like we'll help each other kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I really need to make that room for making friends for sure. It's harder as an adult. It really is.
Not really. No, I'm good, thanks. I think I've got enough friends. Okay, I've maybe if I meet someone that I feel can offer me something that I don't have in a friendship, but I think I've got everything that I need in a friend. So I won't go out of my way to meet new friends.
Of course, I can always make room in my life for new friends, and I believe everyone can, in my opinion, based on my experience. I don't personally subscribe to the whole concept of I'm too busy for a friend. I'm too busy for a conversation. I'm too busy for a meeting. I'm too busy for lunch or whatever the reconnecting point might be. I believe that to some degree, everything boils down to a choice. What is the choice that you are willing to make, and what is the choice that you are not making? Right. So if I'm not choosing to reconnect with you due to me saying that I'm too busy, it's because I'm prioritizing other things within my own life. I'm making choices different according to the friendship that I'm wanting to experience with you, or you are wanting to experience with me. So do I have space for new friendships, new connections? Absolutely. I think that's true of any given day, any given moment. It's more so what type of friendships are we going to experience, which we can't determine until we really experience those things. And I think to some degree, it's also going back to the point of understanding that the friends that we might be could be different than the friends that, let's say, you have from your teenage years. And that's okay. We might be the type of friends that connect or reconnect on a weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, annual basis, and that's okay because that's what it is. That's what we're choosing it to be. So, long story longer, yes, I welcome everybody to be my friend.
As we've just seen, the space we hold for new friendships is as unique as the friendships themselves. For some, it's about being open to the possibilities, like Oleg shared, letting go of rigid expectations and allowing each connection to take its own shape, whether it's a casual acquaintance or a lifelong bond. But what about the moments when a connection feels immediate, almost magical? Some believe in love at first sight, that instant recognition of a soulmate. Could the same be true for friendship? Can a single moment of understanding or shared energy create a bond that lasts a lifetime?
Yes. If you are clear in your head of what a real friend is and who you're going to be in a friendship, the same way that when Rodney and I first met at age 16, pushing food trucks in the Elliott Hospital kitchen in Manchester, New Hampshire, the first conversation we had, I knew we were going to be great friends. And here we are 38 years later.
I don't believe in love at first sight, I'm afraid. I do believe in energetic connection at first sight. And I 100% believe that we meet every single person in our lives for a reason. I believe every soul gets in touch with another soul for a reason. And, that is played out in whatever type of relationship we come into contact with somebody.
Absolutely. I know for me, there's one, I considered him a brother. And it was like the first time we met, it was like we've known each other all our lives. Yeah, And I know we would still be friends today that he passed away. So even though he's physically not here, like I still talk to him. But yeah, I mean, there have been probably 3 or 4 people my whole life. Like when I met him, like I knew I've known them before. So for me, it definitely can happen, and it does.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm of that camp. Like everybody's a friend, everybody's great. I want to keep in touch with you forever. So yeah, I think you can though sense sometimes like, wow, we really jive. And I was at this women's retreat, and sometimes it goes the opposite way. Like there are people that I just never thought that they liked me. I was like, and then this person's like, I really want to keep in touch. And it's like, you do? So, it goes both ways. Sometimes I don't see it, but then when people are really kind of insistent, that's like, wow, I didn't, I didn't realize I made that impression. That's awesome.
No, I think you can definitely have a friend at first sight. Sometimes you just know, just like that. You're talking, you're next to each other, and you just know. You're like, yep, this is my person. We're gonna be friends. Just like sometimes people see their future partner and they're like, I'm gonna marry that person, and then they end up marrying them. They just know.
Do I believe that I can have a friend at first sight? I would say yes.
Yeah, I do. I do believe that you can have friendship at first sight. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. Yeah. I think people are sometimes destined to be in your life.
I think that there are times when you just feel the energy of somebody, where you're like, man, I've known you forever, and you can talk about things that you wouldn't normally talk to, possibly even your brothers and sisters, but within minutes you're conversing that way. I think there is an aura about people. There's a when our auras match or intertwine. I think that there is kind of a friendship at first sight.
I remember there was one particular time where I was in middle school. I was living in Ann Arbor, Michigan with my parents and my brother at the time. And I remember I was running down the stairs from my bedroom and I was so excited to go see one of my friends. And I ran down the stairs and I had told my mom that I was going to see this friend. And she had asked me a question. She said, how could he be your friend if you only known him for X number of weeks? And I remember that being one of the first pivotal moments within my own life where I started to think of friendships differently. Is there a time frame? Is there a time limit before you can actually call somebody a friend? Can an instant connection result in a friendship? And part of that has to do with the fact that we're all going through different experiences. So you and I and many others could go through the same exact event, but what you choose to find and what you choose to look at as important could be drastically different from what I choose to find is important. So when I think about those early childhood experiences, especially the question that my mom had asked me when I was younger, I can't help but think of all of the other questions that that particular moment led to. So first trying to understand, well, what does it mean to have a friend? Who is a friend? Who do I want to have as a friend? Because there's the overarching definition of what it means to have a friend. And then there's a choice that you make from that. You understand the concept. Now you have to make it applicable within your own life. So these are all the qualities that might meet a friend within my own life. Okay, who are those people that I want? So do I experience a form of instant friendships or do I give it time? I think it's a yes and. I think there are some friendships that I've been able to develop instantly. There's some people that I'm able to open up to much quicker than let's say I am able to others. And then there are some that I deliberately take more time to really understand the role that this person is going to play with.
The idea of friendship at first sight may seem whimsical, but as our participants shared, instant connections often hold meaning, even if they don't develop into lasting relationships. As Oleg reflected a simple question from his mother during middle school, how can someone be a true friend if you've only just met them, became a turning point in his life. It was the start of his own exploration into what real friendship truly means. Moments like these remind us of the profound privilege we have as parents, grandparents, and mentors to guide the next generation in their understanding of friendship. It's a privilege that, for many of us, wasn't prioritized in the same way when we were growing up, not by fault, but simply because it wasn't a focus at the time. So how are we choosing to guide young people today? What lessons are we sharing about building, nurturing, and understanding friendships?
I know for me, when they have issues with some of their friends, I listen to their side and then I try to show them like a different, like maybe this is what your friend was thinking. I try to teach them that there's always, two sides. It's not just your side. There are other sides. Maybe something was going on with them. But for the most part, I try teaching them through my actions, which is hard since I don't have many friends. But basically, I also just taught them, like, just be respectful, treat each other kindly. Like, you never know what somebody else is going through.
As a single mom and as a person who has struggled having, friends myself, I definitely taught my children not to please everyone and to watch when somebody actually tries to control their life in whatever way that might be.
One of the things I like, if you say you're going to do something, do it. If you tell your friend you're going to be there, be there. Don't slough them off for a better offer. Like once you've said you're going to do something with somebody, even if a better offer comes along, you don't ditch them for the better offer. That's not being a friend. And the other thing is like I've said to my kid, you have to be a friend to have friends. And I know both my kids struggled with being bullied. I wonder if it's because they're weird too. Anyways, they're not. Well, they are, but that's okay. They're weird in the best and wonderful way. But you have to be a friend to get a friend, and that means you have to give a little more and look for people that want your friendship, looking for friends, and seek out those people that maybe don't have a lot of friends, and you can see how they feel and how they care, and a good friendship may bloom with them.
I don't know that I haven't like sat them down and had like a conversation about friendship or what it means to be a friend. Like directly. I mean, I think, and I hope that they see the friendships that I have, and they see the conversations that I have with people, and they see how a lot of people interact with me. And I think, and I hope that influences them in a positive way to see how I interact with people and how I have those select few friends that I am just extremely close with, and that I trust implicitly.
To not let people walk all over you just because they are your friends. To not let your friends disrespect you. To not actually people in general. That's what I teach my kids. So I'm a gentle parent. I don't believe in corporal punishment and all that. So I've taught my kids, all three of my kids, from early ages of understanding, is that don't let people or friends take advantage of you.
Tell the truth and don't be lazy. Don't be too lazy to do the work, to learn, to acquire the skills that enable you to, in a more self-reliant way, navigate your own assimilation into the culture and stop blaming somebody else. Projecting the problem on someone else enables us to be lazy and say, well, if you just get your act together, I won't have to experience this displeasure. And that's just not going to happen. It's your turn.
I have taught them to be kind individuals and to be there and to be understanding and to show empathy. I have, I try to teach my kids that, whether they'll do it or not, I'm not sure, but.
I mean, from the get-go, when they started school, well, before they started school, I've always taught the same as my parents taught me, that everyone deserves to have a friend. And if you notice people that don't have someone on the playground, offer to play with them. And they really, they really are great kids that way. Like, I've got teachers notices home saying, Desiree, sat with such and such, or helped a kindergarten student off the playground, or just different things. But yeah, just be friends with everyone. Like, it doesn't have to be the same depth of friend. You can be just an acquaintance friend or get really close, but we've never done the who's your best friend. And we try to really, have them be open to everyone, and it's important to us. So
teaching the next generation about friendship is one of the greatest opportunities we have to create a kinder, more connected world. As Angie so beautifully shared, it's about being intentional, teaching our children not only to value honesty, kindness, and inclusivity, but also to seek out and nurture friendships in ways that reflect those values. And perhaps the most powerful lessons we teach are the ones we model in our own lives. The friendships we choose, the way we show up for those we care about, and the qualities we celebrate in our closest friends, they all paint a picture of what true connection looks like. So what are those qualities that we hold dear in the friendships we have today?
Somebody I can have fun with. Somebody that I can talk to, that I actually enjoy talking to. Qualities that a person has that make me want to be their friend is probably reliability, punctuality, funny. I like people being funny. I like people that don't take everything so seriously.
I do appreciate friends that are not like so set in their way that they are going to be very vocal and not appreciate others' perspectives, as we were talking about. So I rather hang around with people that I think are open-minded and willing to consider other things. I'm one person who always believes that you've got to be learning every day. You got to learn something. If you're not learning, you're dying. You're not living. So in friends, I like friends that also enjoy learning and not just sitting and talking about the old times, or watching a football game and talking about, how the grass grows. I'd rather have somebody that is got an intellectual direction and likes to be stimulated intellectually, so that we can really have good conversations where we both benefit from it.
I value that they challenge me, that they will remind me of things that maybe even I was the one that reminded them of it, that they accept me, my loudness, my ability to be multifaceted in each moment, my ability to run around like a dog with the zoomies at sometimes in my mind and zigzag topics and communication. that I can truly be me, no matter which me shows up, the happy, perky me, or the one that sometimes got her Pele up and gives no anythings about anything.
I just like being comfortable in my own skin. I want to be able to be me 100% and be accepted. I say some out of left field something, or I'm joking around, or what. I just want that person to be like, oh, that's just Danielle. Like, and laugh with me, not be so serious, not be like, oh, why did you say that? Or why did you do that? Like, just somebody who gets me. Yeah, that would be the most important thing. If I can be my true self around you, that means everything to me.
Authenticity, trust, fun. I like, and something that they can teach me. They like to have fun, travel, many life experiences. Very much into they've. I kind of say that they're living a higher level of living. That they've really. I don't like a lot of drama, and I don't mean like there's some drama of life that we go through. Yes, that's I'm always for that, but that carries on and they never want to do anything about it. I just don't. I used to attract that a lot, but I don't seem to attract that as more later in my life.
We're there for each other, and it's almost like in a psychic sense. And my best friend Rodney would attest to this over and over and over. Some days I just have this feeling I should reach out to him today. And this happens with a number of friends. And some of them I'll see on social media, just scrolling through, I'll be like, I get the vibe they're not having a great day. So I won't comment on that post. I'll just happen to come down here to the recording studio, put on the camera and record a message telling them, hey, I thought of you today. And do you remember this thing we did and this great memory we had? Oh my gosh, that was the funniest thing in the world. I just felt like sharing that with you every single time. And this happens when I text Rodney too. They reach back and they'll ask, how did you know I needed that today?
Caringness, things like just remembering your special days, your birthdays, or just checking in. I think that's what I appreciate, is the checking in side of things with friendship.
The old style or old fashioned values, which are seemingly forgotten about in today's world. So I definitely want, or I'm looking for loyalty in a friend. I definitely look for honesty. I would rather hear someone's, criticism towards me directly from them, because kindness to me is also, being able to be honest in a way that, you're not afraid to tell the other person what you really mean.
Honesty, accountability, somebody that'll be straight up with you and say, I don't agree with you. Here's why. Let's talk about it. I like to have those conversations. I don't enjoy being around people that just kind of tell you what you want to hear. I'd rather have honest conversation.
The friendships we cherish are often defined by the qualities we value most: trust, kindness, loyalty, and the joy of simply being together. But perhaps the most universally treasured quality, as so many shared, is honesty. Honesty can deepen a connection, but it can also test its strength. Sometimes the truth we share or the truths we uncover bring a friendship to an end. And then there are the endings we never choose, the ones brought by time, distance, or the heartbreaking loss of someone we love. Losing a friend, whether through a parting of ways or through death, leaves an undeniable mark on our hearts. These are the moments when we reflect on what friendship meant, the lessons it taught us, and the space it will forever hold in our lives.
We've lived in a lot of different places since we left. We were in Colorado, and when last one graduated. We sold our house and moved, and we had a great group of people there. We had a great community. We had a lot of fun with those people. It was really cool. And between Boston, San Francisco, I can't even think of where all. Here, we're in Utah now. Yeah, the different kinds of people. When you're like Colorado had its own kind of people. The North Shore of Boston, it's different people. Florida, different people. And it just, in California, different people. It is just hard, and it's getting harder and harder. I hear people use the words a lot, they want to find their tribe. I'm like, good luck to you. I don't know where to look.
It's sometimes hard letting go of friends, especially if it's your best friend, because a relationship, it's seldom that a lot of friendships end when people get into relationships, and I feel this is a main thing. It's as if the dynamic changes when someone else enters the relationship, and I think that's what you just need to flow with. People aren't in your life, and I think that's how I've coped with it, is to tell myself if they're not in your life, then they're not supposed to be there. So I think that makes the blow of losing a friendship just a little bit easier.
I do think two very different people can be friends. I don't know if people who have very different moral views can be friends, because I feel like at some point that becomes a conflict. And maybe it's not so if it's very, very hypothetical. But I also think that there's moral differences that I have with people that are, to me, very humanitarian. To me, I have a problem with certain worldviews that dismiss the value of certain humans just because they're different. I don't feel that I can be friends with somebody who takes someone else's humanity so lightly. And I think different moral values are more or less important to different people, like people, what is morality? Like ask 10 different people and their moral code, they might even say similar words, but when you get down to it, like they probably have a different concept of right and wrong than you do, because it's such a big topic. And I think too, like emotional needs play into that too. Like, what do you need from a friendship? And just because someone has different emotional needs from me doesn't mean we can't end up meeting each other's needs if we talk about it. But when it gets into beliefs of like right and wrong, I guess like that's for me what like willingness is about too, is I'm willing to listen to a point, to someone's like, here's what I think is true and here's what I think is right, especially if they're sharing it in an earnest kind of way. I'm not willing to listen to viewpoints that are really dismissive or dehumanizing of myself or people that I care about, or even people I don't care about. I don't think anyone deserves to be dehumanized, and I think that's like where my boundary lies. And I think for people who are on that side of things, who really do feel like, well, this or that person isn't worth my time and this entire group of people is a problem, because obviously it's not as important on their moral value spectrum as mine. They may see it as a smaller disagreement and I don't. And maybe there's something else that's very important to them that's not that important to me, that I have a difficulty understanding. So it's tricky.
I have lost a few friends, like even some last year, and it was hard. Not too much older than me, and they've died of cancer. And some, even when I was younger, they died of cancer very young, and nothing hits you like mortality. It hits you like, yeah, this isn't forever.
I am a very spiritual person, so I do believe that we never really lose the person that dies fully. They're around us. They're living within us through memories and experiences. But I think there is a difference in, that person still going on to live on this earth because, well, I'm from a small town for one thing, and you can run into them and it makes it really awkward, and then you start thinking about everything again and whatnot. Whereas the connection with a loved one that's passed on, yeah, you can open yourself up to receive signs, I guess is the right word, signs, or feeling close to them whenever you want.
We've got one of our friends right now whose husband has pancreatic cancer, stage 4. I mean, this is going to sound cruel, but it's inevitable. I mean, death and taxes. It's going to hurt, but I have had a lot of experience with death. Friends, parents. I've lost friends, car wrecks, suicide. It's just going to happen, and can't stop it. I think one of the things I learned early on with the experiences I've had is not to have regrets, and that grief will always be with you, but that part of them always will be too. They live with you, and the memories and the stories and the things that you share about them, and there's always a little bit of them personally that you keep in your heart.
So I guess what those two things have in common is the sense of separation that we experience when we lose someone, whether that be through death or through just physical separation. And for me, there's a lot of similarities between them both. There's both those experiences. It's an energetic thing, and relationships come to an end for lots of different reasons. But that sense of separation when somebody's energy has been intertwined with yours for a while, and if you have that deeper connection with someone, the sense of grief is the same. It's the same, and it can be as deep and it can be as painful as losing somebody physically from this earth, this realm. I think the differences would be, even though the sort of feelings and emotions can be the same, I think the differences are the mental understanding of the finality of somebody leaving the physical realm. And I think there's something about death that it feels very final, or in this, human body and emotions. One of my favorite spiritual teachers, for 10, 15 years, who sadly passed away a few years ago, is Thich Nhat Hanh. And I, as a mindfulness teacher, he's been a big influence on my life. And I love that he talks about, and I talk about this a lot, but I love that, and I went to it as with my own practice of grief, is being with my cup of tea in the morning and focusing on that tea in silence and understanding that the water, what was in my cup, has come from nature, and everything about my loved one was in that cup. That the rain from the rain clouds has come from the rain clouds. That's come from the earth. It's come from where my loved ones have gone back to after they died, and the resonance from them is now through the clouds, through the rain, through coming through my water pipe into my kettle, into my teacup, is now still here with me. And I love that. I love metaphors of nature, and I love to use that and kind of be with my loved ones through being present with nature, being present with simple things, simple rituals, and knowing that they're still here in some kind of form, that I can still be with them. And yeah, and that the understanding that we're all connected through that energy just has changed my life.
Friendship is one of life's greatest gifts. But as we've seen, it's not without its challenges. Moving away, navigating fundamental differences, and facing the devastating loss of a friend remind us of how fragile and precious these connections truly are. Karen's beautiful reflection on remembering loved ones through small rituals serves as a poignant reminder of how friendships leave lasting impressions on our lives. They shape us, teach us, and stay with us, even in their absence. But as we reflect on the friendships we've had, it's equally important to look inward. What kind of friends are we? Do we offer the same qualities we hope to receive? And perhaps, most importantly, do we consider ourselves to be good friends?
I hope I'm a good friend. I don't know, I guess. I've never asked any of my friends that question. Very strange to think about.
I consider myself to be a pretty good friend. My friends tell me that I'm an excellent friend. And at this stage of my life, I have two answers to that question. There are the younger people like Ferran Dozier, who considers me a friend, and but that's kind of in a mentor space. I'm the grandfather, or maybe the father, but grandfather that he never had, because he was not able to have the kind of dialogue with them that he has with me. And then in my church parish, my Episcopal church parish, there's a group of people in my age group, and after Mass on Sunday, we sit in the patio and drink coffee or tea and eat bagels and have conversations about anything. And I am as highly regarded in that peer group as I regard them.
I am a very dependable friend. I may not be there every day. I may not be there for months with some people, but I will always be dependable. And I think that I'm a great friend. I do.
I am the counseling kind of friend. I am also that friend that sometimes people will run away from because when they come to me, they know that either I'm going to say something or they're going to become aware of something. So I can be the friend that's the trigger pusher. It isn't an intentional thing. It's an innate and natural thing. Honestly, I would say I'm a decent friend. I wouldn't say I'm the best because I do have my boundaries. Does that make sense? Some people would probably expect more time or more energy than sometimes I'm willing to give. Yet on one level, that's a good example of self-care. So
I don't even know what kind of friend I am. I believe, at 53 today, I'm I've learned how to listen more effectively than my past. So, um, very responsible. But I'm learning that being responsible is also a part of how I survive. So I don't really care to be too responsible anymore, and that has allowed me to, to then be more honest with myself. So I become a more honest person in some areas, reliable for sure. I'm nice. And I'm not nice just so you can be nice to me, but I'm literally just I don't let a lot of things bother me. So
I do. I do consider myself to be a good friend. I've been so uh, blessed to hear those words come from people's mouths over the years. And I'd say the characteristics I bring to the friendship table would be that I'm the kind of person who cares deeply. And I know that that comes through in many areas of my life, whether it be a book project or teaching music to young kids, which is what I do in my day job. Um, I I always feel that doing my best is an expectation I have of myself. And when it comes to friendships, I think that how that translates is that I really do listen carefully with my whole self.
I am one that I will reach out. I have people that I reach out to on a daily basis. I also have people that I'll reach out to every month or so. Um, I feel that when given the chance, I can be a very good friend. I just feel that sometimes I'm not given that chance, and so it makes it harder. Um, like for me, I if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And if I can't do it the day we specifically said, I will make sure that before we're done talking, we already have a new time to do it.
I am a loyal friend. I am fully present with you when we're together, going to root for you to win. I'm going to cheer you on every step of the way. I'm going to say yes when you ask for support and help and I'm going to do anything in my power to make your life better every chance that I get.
I am a listening friend. I am a friend that you can have a vulnerable conversation with. I am a friend who will not turn away from the big stuff. And so, in those ways, I am a good friend. I also know that my unique schedule and situation means that I am not a friend who's like always available to hang out. I'm not a friend whose schedule always lines up. And there are people for whom like that's a love language. Like I just want to spend time with you. And I know and I'm upfront about like I can't always be the kind of friend that person needs because in order to be a friend to myself with the pace of my life, I often do go for a while between like physically seeing a good friend of mine.
I think the older I get, the more I will only give what I am getting. And so if I have a friend who's only kind of half there for me, doesn't really respond very quickly on a text or a call, or just doesn't really seem like he or she is into the conversation, or wants to give me the advice that I need, I'll kind of shy away from that person. Whereas if somebody gives me everything and I feel like they're giving me everything and they're being honest and they're being open with me, I feel that I am doing the same for them.
I'm a hell of a friend. Yes. I have another friend of mine. He said this line that I'm probably going to start using from here on out. I'm a 11 out of 5. And what I mean by that is not as a way to brag about who I am, but I really do believe that I am a good friend. And for me, what makes a good friend, or for me, what makes me a good friend, is I'm someone that is going to show up for you. I'm someone who supports you. I'm someone who is able to create a space for you for whatever the circumstances might be. And I'm someone who has genuinely, I believe, a good character, good qualities, good values Those are all things that I've taken the time within my own life to better understand and to define and to live according to.
I'm an amazing friend. I'm the supportive friend. I am the friend who will call you on your shit and at the same time hug you. I'm the friend who will listen without judgment. I am the friend who will roll up on your house if you call me and tell me something's going on. I'm that friend. I'm the friend who's just going to love you and accept you just the way you are. And I'm going to be the friend who's attentive. I'm the friend who acknowledges your wins and encourages you when you feel you may be in your losses. I'm that friend. And I'm the friend that will love you until the end. I mean, even people that I've parted ways, I still have love for you. I don't have to like you, but I still have love for you.
Friendship invites us to reflect not just on the relationships we've built, but on the role we play within them. Asking ourselves, "Am I a good friend?" is a question that requires honesty, vulnerability, and self-awareness. For some, the answer is clear. For others, it's a more complicated journey of understanding their own boundaries and intentions. What if we could take everything we've learned about ourselves and about friendship and share it with the person we were long ago? Imagine being able to offer advice to your younger self, guidance through the challenges, encouragement in the hard moments, and a reminder of what truly matters. What would you tell your younger self about friendship, about connection? What would you tell them about the kind of friend they deserve to have and the kind of friend they could strive to be?
And I think I would tell myself that, find those really good people and learn the people you can trust and the people you don't, and make sure that you don't overdo it with the ones you can't trust and the ones that you can't just be yourself with.
To little Lisa, who landed in Toronto, Canada in February of 1976, I would tell her that she's going to be okay, and that she's going to be more than okay, and that she will meet people on the journey that light her path and make the road easier. And just knowing that would probably make her relax a bit more and just be herself.
Friends are like seasons. They come, they go. Some are longer, some are shorter. But in the end, the friendships that actually grow and become more are the ones that last through all the seasons, are the ones that continue to show up, and are the ones that continue to create joy, create breakthroughs, and create happiness.
Let your feelings guide it. Feel it. What does a true friend feel like? Because you can feel when somebody's not being real with you. You can feel when somebody's kind of trying to fake their way through it. Feel your world around you. Know what it feels like. Know the difference. Learn how to use your body as a gauge. Use your gut's intuition, right? And definitely know how to get into your heart space. Because if you can do that, everything else gets easier.
Be your own best friend first, and the rest will follow.
Recognize that you have the energy to attract the right people in your life, and that it's okay to be vulnerable with the right people, and don't go in so quickly to call everyone your friend. Take the time to get to know them before you give them the label of that's my friend.
I think I would tell her that not to expect that your friends will put the same kind of effort, at least at times, than you do. And that is absolutely okay. That communication is key, that there are ways of telling, talking things through when it comes to how our friendship works, or how can we make it work to be friends. And also that, unfortunately, if you are told no, or if you are given clear signs that somebody doesn't want to be your friend, not to push it, and just accept that not everybody will like you, and not everybody will be your friend, and people pleasing is certainly not something you should be focusing on.
So definitely be there for who needs you to be there. Stay friends with your friends at that young age. Do what they want to do on occasion, because they're important in your life. You might not believe it now, but you're going to believe it in years.
Take more chances on people. Why? Because I've learned that over time, not everyone does that. Not everyone takes a chance on others. Not everyone believes in others. Not everyone believes in themselves. Not everyone takes chances on themselves. I personally would like to, and am actively creating a world where people, and myself included, are able to do more of that.
I think I would tell her that it's okay to have more friends, and that I don't need to be as protective over myself as I probably was as a child. But also to know that it's okay to be yourself, and to know that if you want to have time on your own, that's okay. And you don't have to be a social butterfly to be wonderful and incredible and authentic and accepted by others.
They don't have to change themselves to be liked or loved. That they deserve friends who want them just the way they are. I would tell them that they are not bad at being social, because that is a message I received a lot when I was younger. I really believed I was bad at it. I really believed no one would like me. I really believed that there was just something weird and awkward and unpleasant and off-putting about me. And I would tell them that the real me is lovable.
Seek out those weird people, because they'll be the best friends that you ever have.
To listen to your gut, and try to hold on to those friendships as much as possible, especially the ones that are so meaningful. And you should utilize your friends to speak about things that you're having issues with. And it's not always fun and games. Like, you can open up to your friends and they won't turn their back on you like you think they will.
You're okay. The friends that you have are the friends that you have. And as you grow, your friends are going to change and grow, some of them with you, some of them without you. And know that there's always more friends to make.
To love and appreciate yourself first. Oftentimes people are like, you're selfish if you think about yourself first. No, you actually have to take care of yourself first. You have to nurture yourself, and you have to love yourself in order to really be able to nurture and love somebody else.
That friendship is going to come and go. And the ones that are meant to be in your life will continue to show up.
To not give up and put yourself forward. That in the end, it'll be worth it.
I would probably just say, remember what Pep said about when you're older, you can count your real friends on one hand. So to be very invested and also to be a friend to yourself.
I would say that you're special and that it's okay to have friends and that they are going to like you and go make friends.
That it's not what you might expect, but it can also be everything that you wish for with the right people.
You don't have to have all the people. All the people are not what you're going to need as you get older.
What is little Kelly gonna need when she gets older?
Just a few. Just a few that she can really go to with anything. And that's going to be key.
Friendship. From the playgrounds of our childhood to the complexities of adulthood, it has been both a source of profound joy and, at times, deep heartbreak. It's one of the most universal experiences of being human, yet it's also one of the most misunderstood. Throughout this journey, we've explored the paradoxes of friendship, the expectation to make friends as children without the tools to truly understand how, the way connections evolve as life demands more of us, and the ways we crave deep, meaningful bonds, even as we struggle to maintain them amidst the chaos of modern life. We've heard about the magic of instant connections, the grief of losing a friend, and the courage it takes to look inward and ask, am I the kind of friend I want to have? Through all these stories, one truth emerges. Friendship is as unique as the people who share it. It's not about the quantity of friends we have, but the quality of those relationships, the trust, honesty, and love that build them. As Matt so beautifully said, friendship may not be what you expect it to be, but it could be everything you wish for. And then there's Kelly's wisdom, tearful, raw, and undeniably true. You don't need all the friends, only a few, and that's going to be key. So now, as this story comes to a close, I invite you, no matter where you are in your journey, to pause and reflect. What does friendship mean to you? What kind of friend are you? Not just to others, but to yourself. Give yourself the space to explore these questions, to reimagine what friendship can be, and to embrace the sacred connections that have the power to change your life and the world around you. Because when we examine not only our relationships with others, but also the one we have with ourselves, we unlock the potential to create a world where kindness, understanding, and love are at the center of all we do.
I need your shoulder. I need you, friend. No wise words or reason. I just need someone I can depend on. 'Cause I'm crumbling and slowly falling. Can you catch me? I don't need no sermon, no, 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 no. No verses either. I just need your shoulder, shoulder. Something that I can hold, my friend. 'Cause I'm crumbling, crumbling and slowly falling. Can you catch me? This rocky way I'm on, I never planned it. This message that I have, didn't want to say it. And these things that I want, didn't want to need them. But I just need your shoulder. And I need you, my friend. You may not be able to carry me over the water, oh no, but I just need your shoulder. 'Cause I'm crumbling, crumbling and slowly falling. Can you catch me? This rocky way I'm on, I never planned it. This message that I have, didn't want to share it. And these things that I want, didn't want to need them. But I just need your shoulder. And I need you, my friend. 'Cause I'm crumbling, crumbling and slowly falling. Can you catch me?